Well, I think we can jump into the episode. I want to welcome everyone to another episode of Spill the Alpha. I hope that you're going to enjoy this one. We have Mayne with us. Thanks for coming, mate.
Of course. Thanks for having me
on. So for those who don't know Mayne for some weird reason, Mayne is a fantastic trader, one of the OGs of CT, co-founder of The Haven. Right, you have like an educational group, The Haven, and co-founder of Breakout Prop. We will be discussing those in quite a bit. I think it's going to be an interesting one. And I want to remind to all of our listeners that on the bottom right corner, there's a chat box icon. You can click at it at any moment, leave any questions that you have to Mayne, and we will be going over those towards the end of the space. And if anyone wants to actually hop in and talk to us and ask anything in person, you can request to be a speaker, and we're going to let you in. And before we jump into the questions, I want to mention that IDEX recently launched with the new version, so make sure to check that out if you haven't already. It's up to 20x leverage so far. You have cross-chain deposits. We have a market-making program, points program. You can exchange points to IDEX tokens. It's pretty awesome. And go ahead and check that out. Click on the IDEX account, give them a follow, check that out. Make sure to check Mayne's account out as well. Give him a follow if you don't already. Thanks for coming, guys. I hope you'll enjoy it, and we can jump into it. So Mayne, I actually don't know anything about your background. How did you actually get into crypto?
Yeah. So, I got introduced to crypto from a friend of mine, over 10 years ago now. And he was like kind of a little bit of a wacky dude. Like he'd always bring me these crazy get rich quick schemes. Usually they were like multi-level marketing pyramid schemes. But at the time, I was 23, 24. So when I got invited to these, presentations that he'd be like, dude, I found the next thing. We're going to go to this presentation. You're going to learn all about it. There was free food and drinks. So I was like, okay, I'm down. Like I'm 23. I want free food and drinks. So I would go and, I'd get my lunch and I'd have my beer, and then, you'd sit down for the presentation and they'd throw up the thing that's like a pyramid, but it's not a pyramid. And I kind of was like, okay, these are all bullshit, whether it was selling knives or fucking Tupperware. All you had to do was sign up your friends and then your family and then their family, and all of a sudden you're going to get rich. So when he told me about crypto, he's like, dude, I found this thing called Bitcoin. It's the future of money. I was like very skeptical, cause I'm like, this guy's not brought me anything remotely close to being like not a scam before. But he had told me about it. I think it was in like 2012. And then going into 2013, and then I kind of paid attention to it a little bit. And I saw that it had kind of started growing up aggressively in price. I was like, oh, maybe I'll buy some. Like, how do you do it? So I bought some back then. I joined Twitter, I think in April of 2024, which is like right around the top. So I'd made some money kind of early on, just buying some, and everything was going up. I was, I thought I was a genius. I thought I knew what I was doing. So I have, if you go back on my feed from like 2014, like I'm posting about random fucking altcoins. So I bought a bunch of Bitcoin. I bought some altcoins, and for a very brief period of time, I made money because the market was bullish. It's kind of like right now. Yeah. Like you don't need to know what you're doing to make money right now. You can throw a dart at a board and make money.
The genius periods.
Yeah. So I think during a bull run, people get confused between being a bull in a bull run and actually knowing how to trade, right? As we can see right now, sometimes just being a bull is much more profitable, than being a trader in these types of instances, at least. But yeah, that's kind of how I got indoctrinated. I put some money in. I did decently well, and then I lost it all once things started to go down. I had no idea that you could, sell back to cash. I didn't know anything, right? So I was holding shit like barbecue coin and file coin and a bunch of other garbage that went to zero. And that kind of spurred me to want to learn about markets, because I saw, like, even back then there was charts and you would see price go up and down, and I'm like, there's got to be a way that this kind of stuff works. So I took some time and I learned to trade. I taught myself to trade primarily in Forex. So I was trading currencies, a little bit of stocks and options and stuff like that. I'd learned from various different people over the years, ICT, Tom Dante, Larry Williams, the list goes on. And I paid for certain things. I joined tons of groups, and I just kind of built a, trading strategy, and I was kind of getting okay at trading currencies. And then 2016, 2017 came around, and I saw Bitcoin again. I was like, oh, I wonder if all this stuff I've been doing on FX charts will work in Bitcoin. And it did. So I started posting about kind of PA on crypto Twitter. And I was probably one of the earlier people to start posting about like, just TA, like support and resistance, using order blocks and other price action shit, very early on. And I opened up a group, called Tradermayne's PA Palace or something like that, as a big free Discord. And a lot of guys that are now huge on Twitter were in there, and we were all kind of grinding it out early days and when Bitcoin was, cheap, and the rest is kind of history.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I remember you actually talking about it, how back then everyone were just learning from Forex people because there was nothing like close to TA with crypto at all.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think a lot of people, it was much more just kind of like you buy, I think there's a lot more insider stuff going on as well. Like people knew what coins, they're like we have cabals now. The cabals there were much more obvious. There's groups of people who had decent following on Twitter. They knew stuff that was going to get listed. They would be like, hey, I know this coin's going to get listed. You're going to want to buy it. It would nuke on listing. But I started learning early on with a few other guys that, like the large players who are moving these markets, because that's how it works, right? Especially back then when the markets were so small, people were making the markets. They worked the same, regardless of the asset, regardless of the size of it. It all works the same. It's like a penny stock. It's like a meme coin today. There's certain fundamentals in the market that just work, and you can chart them. Whether you want to call it human emotion, whatever, I don't really care. It just works, right? You get that kind of Wall Street cheat sheet kind of vibe. You can apply it to anything, any asset. So I think I was definitely one of the earliest people kind of showing guys that like this stuff works. And then, obviously now everyone uses, PA and TA on their charts. Like it's like super common and super I guess everywhere. It's permeated across all of Twitter. I see people using order blocks and support and resistance on fucking $5 million meme coin charts now,
Yeah, it's literally everywhere. That's really cool. How long do you feel that it took you until you started to just get the hang of things and to turn a profit? Like, was there any pivotal moment that just made you realize that you can actually do this for a living?
For sure. I mean, I think of it a couple of ways. The first time I tried to go full time was in 2014 because I turned maybe 20 or 30 grand, like whatever I had I'd taken out my line of credit, maxed out my Visa, and I'd bought all the crypto I could, and I turned it into over six figures. And I say that very lightly because I didn't really do anything, right? Like I just bought and shit went up. But at that time, six figures of liquid capital was like unlimited money, like I was 23, like my expenses were buying beer and McDonald's. Like it was, so I quit my job. I was working at the bank at the time as like a financial service rep. I was working my way to being like a financial advisor. And I was like, dude, I don't need to fucking do this anymore. Like I've made this much money in this amount of time. So let's extrapolate. I'm going to be a millionaire by like next week. So quit my job and very quickly learned that not only did I not know what I was doing, but I didn't have nearly enough money to not have to work anymore. So I went back, I got a job. That was very humbling. I moved back into my dad's basement. That was very humbling. Once I started trading Forex, it took me a solid 18 to 24 months before I was making money. Making money is very different than trading for a living. Guys, you can make money consistently, but to trade for a living, like we're just talking trading, not crypto specifically, you need to have a decent bankroll. Cause like, what are you pulling out every month? Like, let's say you can earn 5 to 10% consistently every single month. Okay. Well, how big does your account have to be for that to be a meaningful amount of money, right? So that's an aspect as well. And then you also have to have a bit of a backstop or a nest egg, in my opinion, of your expenses, because you don't want to have to trade to live. You want to have enough money saved up so you can, cover your bills. You don't want to have to, take a trade that's not a good trade because you got to pay rent. So I usually would suggest people have, 1 to 2 years of living expenses, and then you need to have a bankroll as well before you can go full time. But yeah, it was almost 2 years before I feel like I was consistently able to make more than I lost.
Yeah, I feel like that's a really good point. Having that extra bankroll just to make sure that you're not chasing the money and forcing setups and stuff like that when the market doesn't give any, just out of the necessity of paying the bills and like paying rent and stuff like that. That's super important.
Yeah. And I used a prop firm back then. I used a company called FTMO. because I was in Canada here to open an account with the broker I wanted to use. I needed 25 grand. I didn't have that, right? But with a prop firm, this is 10 years ago now. So it's so funny that I've launched a prop firm, last year. I was able to trade a larger account with a much smaller sum of money, and it really expedited my, journey early on. And then I poured all of that money into crypto and went from there.
Yeah. Well, what do you feel were like the most significant mistakes or just general challenges that you faced in your early days of trading, and how did you overcome them?
Trying to go full time too early was probably the biggest one. I was way better at trading when I had a consistent source of income because there was way less stress, right? Like if you're trading because you need money, you're going to take bad trades. You're going to do things that you shouldn't do. You're going to deviate from your system because you need money, right? You're like, fuck, I need money for rent, for food, for whatever. You're going to force stuff. Whereas when I had my job, I was taking trades because they were good trades, right? Or at least I thought they were good trades at the time. And, that's huge. I think a lot of people make that mistake is they try and go all in too early. I tell this to crypto people too. They're like, I want to quit my job and go all in crypto. I'm not saying you can't, but try working and doing what you're doing at the same time first. Cause I think you'd be surprised. There is a lot of hours in the day where you could, like, I would work all day and then I'd come home and I'd sit on my computer. You know what I mean? Like, try that before you consider just being like, oh, I need to quit my job so I can put even more hours into this. Cause once you lose that steady source of income, it changes everything, right? There's a lot more pressure. So that was definitely a huge one. I also think another major one was too much time jumping between different trading styles and systems. It's very easy to get caught up in like the flavor of the month, right? Like you're doing something and then you see some guy and he's doing it a different way and he's making money. So I should probably start doing what he's doing. You're way better off sticking it out with one system, one trading style, whatever that is. I'm not saying there's one way that's right and one way that's wrong. Maybe you like price action. Maybe you like indicators. Maybe you like to use fucking astrology. I don't know. But there's many ways to skin the cat, and you have to put in the reps with one system to actually see if it works for you, if you can be profitable. And I think the mistake a lot of people make is they're hopping between different trading styles. Imagine, like, I always liken it to sports. Where are you based? Are you European?
I mean,
so I'll use football as an analogy. Imagine you take your penalty kicks with your right foot every time in practice. So thousands and thousands of penalty kicks you've taken with your right foot. That's your dominant foot. And then it's in the game. You get tackled in the box. You have a penalty kick and you're like, today I'm kicking it with my left. Like, you know what I mean? Like, do you expect to have good results if after you've practiced it one way 1,000 times, then you go and execute it a completely different way? Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. And this is no different. If you've been doing something one way over and over and over again, and then randomly you decide to switch it, all of that work you've done is now kind of, thrown out the window, and you're not going to be able to potentially replicate the success you were having. So I think those were the two biggest things: going full-time too early and not sticking to a style right away, kind of jumping around between different things.
Yeah, those are really big. About the first thing you said, I always say that I think people focus too much on the money, and obviously that makes sense, right? We are all here just because we want to make money. We want to make a living out of this. We want to make generational wealth, whatever it might be. But people are really fast to forget that making money in this space is a side product of taking good trades, right? And that's what people should be focusing on. For me, I tweeted it a couple of times in the past, and it's the less I care about the money and the less I actually think about how much I made or lost or whatever, the better I perform. And that's just because you start sticking to the basics of, okay, I want to take actually just good setups. I don't care how much the price moved. I don't care what happened. I'm looking at my position right now, how I'm positioned, and how am I going to make it better, right?
Yeah, money is a byproduct of the work. That's how it is, right?
Yeah, exactly. And from your experience with interacting with just people on CT, in the Haven, which is your educational group, or even with Breakout, because I do know that you guys are pretty, you guys keep in touch with your traders as well. What are the most common or just reoccurring issues that most people have, and how do you suggest to those people to resolve those?
Most people are gambling. Like, that's the biggest one, right? Like, most people have no system. They have no rhyme or reason into what they're doing. They're purely gambling. And so they don't use any form of, risk management, and they have nothing that is repeatable. Our best traders within the Haven, within Breakout, are people who have consistency in what they do. So they're consistently doing the same thing. They have really good habits and they tend to win. I think one of the biggest weaknesses people have is like they're just straight up gambling, right? They don't actually have a trading strategy that they have honed over time. So they know what they're doing. When they get in the charts, they know what they're looking for. A lot of people are just in there kind of flipping a coin. And again, right now in these kind of market conditions, that can work for a while, right? Like you can be a bull in a bull market and you can make money. You'll see from this cycle, it happens every cycle, is when the market is super bullish, you're going to see some accounts who are just permabulls gain a lot of popularity because they're just like, it's going to go up, it goes up, it goes up, it goes up. And then when the market regime changes, which it always does eventually, all of a sudden they don't know how to make money anymore, right? And so they have this high follower account.
We have two examples. It's like Suzu and FTX, right? The moment market flipped, it was over.
I was on a space with Thread Guy yesterday, and I said, what's the difference between Suzu and Michael Saylor? It's leverage, right? That's the only difference. Both were permabulls. Michael Saylor was a spot permabull. And I'm old enough to remember when everyone used to make fun of Michael Saylor when price was going down and he kept buying. And they're like, oh my God, he's underwater on his most recent buy. He's so fucking wrecked. But he's buying spot. You can't get liquidated on spot. And this motherfucker made it very clear he was never going to sell, right?
It was funny. Everyone was talking, what's his liquidation? What's his liquidation? Yeah. I just never
he's buying spot. He owns the crypto. Yeah. Now, I mean, obviously he's selling shares in his company and he's doing that whole fucking infinite flywheel. But at the end of the day, he was buying spot. Whereas Suzu, like in reality, like maybe he was right. Maybe it was a super cycle. Like, and this is still part of it. We are going to 6-figure Bitcoin, but he was cursed with the leverage devil. Murad is another guy. Like people forget. I know he's the meme coin Jesus now, but Murad blew up his fund like at the bottom on Bitcoin, being over levered, right? So I'd say between Breakout and the Haven, the most common thing that I see in good traders is consistency. And maybe they're not hitting the home runs every time, but they're consistent with what they do, with their process. We have people who we've paid out dozens and dozens of times. And it's small amounts, but it adds up versus the guy who might hit a home run once, you know, but he's losing the majority of the time. So, and that's just a difference between, you know, experience and, I think someone who's gambling.
Yeah. It's like when it comes to trading, it's not one or two trades that will change your life. It's the next 10,000 trades that will, right? Yes. And I mean, that's something that even I struggled with. When I just started trading, I tried different strategies, and I never gave them a chance, right? So I tried something, I took 10 setups, didn't work. All right, scratch that, trying something else. What suggestion would you give to someone struggling with something like that? Like, how do you find the patience to stick with something that you're trying again and again, and you don't feel so confident with it, and like how do you resist this almost jealousy of copying someone else's setup that you see on CT, for example?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think CT and social media is actually quite detrimental to you trading wise, especially early on, if you're not strong mentally, because it's so easy to get caught up in what everyone else is doing and then feel like you are underperforming. Because there's always going to be someone on there. Trust me, I'll have a good day and then I'll see like Eugene post like a $30 million P&L. I'm like, oh, never mind. I fucking suck and I'm poor. Like there's always going to be someone who makes more money than you, who does better than you, who is in the coin that goes up more than the coin that you're in. Like that's inevitable. But if your entire energy is spent looking at what other people do, like you're going to be pretty unhappy. And I speak from experience because this is something I struggle with all the time. The analogy I always like to give is Instagram. Like if you have a regular job, right? And it's raining outside and you got to go take the bus to work, regardless of what you do for work even, but like you got to go start your day. And the first thing you do before you go do your job is go on Instagram and you see people on boats, next to palm trees, on the beach, in a fast car. Like you're setting yourself up for a shitty day. You know what I mean? And trading's no different. Like if you're in some positions and you feel okay about them and then you go on Twitter and you're like, well, this guy's making more than me. Like you're going to be pretty bummed. So you've got to realize that this is a single player game. You know, It's you versus you. What other people are doing has literally no effect on you. So, it's hard, but if you're struggling with that, you need to reduce the noise, right? Get off of social media, leave some of those groups. if you cannot handle that. I do think that the noise to signal ratio on social media is completely skewed from what it used to be. It used to be a lot more signal, a lot less noise on Twitter. Now it's primarily noise. So if you can't handle that and kind of decipher your way through what's good and what's just kind of, not, that can be tough, but you're learning a skill here. Like, I think that's another problem people have is the get rich quick kind of mentality in crypto because you can make money quickly. If you're trying to learn to trade, that's going to take time, and trying to learn to trade is very different than someone who's on here throwing darts at a board trying to hit a meme coin home run, right? So you got to kind of know what you're trying to do as well.
Yeah. And the social media part is really good. I mean, at the end of the day, almost no one shares any of their losses, any of their bad days. Like, no one talks about it. And it's like I said, it's very easy to like fall in this rabbit hole of feeling like you're underexposed, like you're underperforming. Everyone is doing better than you. But in reality, it's definitely not like that. And, people probably in the same position as you or far worse, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's always someone who's going to be doing better than you. There's always, like, you gotta learn to get, it's something I've been doing this a long time. I am like so petty and, like narcissistic and like, I always am like, what's this guy got? I should have, like, it's human nature, I think, to an extent, but you've got to learn to manage it because it's not gonna be beneficial to your mental health or your trading.
Yeah, 100%. So speaking of the Haven and Breakout, can you tell us a little bit about both?
Yeah. So, we'll start with Breakout. So Breakout is a valuation based prop firm that I started. It will be a year in 2 weeks. Will be our 1 year anniversary, which is crazy.
That's crazy. I remember you guys launching it. It feels like it was a month ago.
I know. I mean, in crypto terms, like, I feel like we're Lindy already for having been around for a year. I don't think a lot of crypto stuff lasts an entire year. But we're coming up on 1 year, which is nuts. I'm one of the co-founders along with my friend Alex, Crypto Cred, and Abe Trade are the other two founders. And this is not like a reinvention of the wheel. Prop firms are something that have already existed, but we didn't believe that an option for prop existed in crypto that was going to serve the crypto market properly, because I do believe that this is a fantastic tool for traders. And right now the conditions are so ripe for a prop because it's access to capital. You're buying leverage. And we have people who are absolutely taking advantage of that right now in terms of, trading meme coins with a larger account than they would be normally. So the way it works effectively is you buy an evaluation. We have two different evaluation types. One is a 2-step, one is a 1-step. All that means is to get to the funded stage, you either have to take two kind of evaluation phases and pass them, or just one. The difference between the two is with the 2-steps, since it's a little harder to pass because there are 2 stages, you get more drawdown once you're funded and during the evaluation as well. The 1-step, you have tighter drawdown rules, but you only have to hit the profit target once to get funded. Once you're funded, up to 90% of what you make, you get to keep. We keep the remainder. So any gains you get on that account, if you have a 100K funded account, if you earn 10%, you can keep up to $9,000 of that and withdraw it as a payout. So if you follow our Breakout Prop on Twitter, you'll see we're paying out people every single day. We do daily payouts. So we have people come in, they log on, they long a meme coin, they get funded, they long another meme coin. They make 10, 20%. They request a payout, and within 48 hours, they've been funded and they've been paid. So for people who kind of get the value, it's actually kind of shocking to me how more people on crypto Twitter haven't kind of really caught on to how useful this can be. And it's not like this has to replace your personal account. This is something you can use in conjunction with your personal account. If you do not have a large capital base, this is absolutely something you should look into. I think our $800 evaluation is like $880. So you're trading a $100,000 account with leverage, because we offer 5x leverage on Bitcoin and ETH and 2x on alts for $800. So the value prop there is massive if you understand what you're doing. We have people who are very consistent traders who get funded and they're taking very systematic trades repeatedly over and over and over again. We also have people who are treating it more as like a bullet. right? They're treating it as like a call option almost. They're saying, okay, I'm paying $800 for the opportunity to take potentially a $500,000 trade on Bitcoin or a $200,000 trade on altcoins. And based on how volatile the market is right now, like that's a ton of money that can be made. So we're crushing right now, all-time highs in volume, all-time highs in traders on the platform, number of trades that have been taken. A lot of people are taking advantage of what we're offering. And I think there's a ton of different use cases for this, whether you're a trader who is trying to just, grow your bankroll, and this is an opportunity to kind of have a stepping stone to funding your own personal account, to people who just see this as an opportunity for more leverage in a bull run where things are super volatile. So it's been a crazy journey. We've had a ton of fun building this. It is very funny to see people talk about, what are the best crypto projects that have launched in the last year? Oh, it's Friend Tech. It's, Hyperliquid because they've got an airdrop that I'm going to farm. I'm not saying we're the biggest by any means, but we don't really get talked about on Twitter very much. I don't understand why. Cause, myself and Cred and ApeTrade, we're pretty well-known commodities. We don't have a token. We haven't scammed anyone. We've never denied a payout ever. And we've paid out massive amounts of money to traders, and we've helped people, grow their account, take advantage of the volatility. So we think we found really good product market fit. People are eating it up. We have a very loyal community and customer base who keep coming back, keep using the product. We're extremely highly reviewed in the prop firm space in general. We're one of the top 3 prop firms on, kind of any prop firm site, highly rated on Trustpilot. So it's been fun. It's been a journey. And it's a completely different beast than, trading all day. It's, building a company. You have team members, you have customers, you have all sorts of different issues, that you got to deal with. I've got Cred being an absolute demon in the Discord. We've built something really cool, really special, I think. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And I mean, I had the experience of working for a prop firm for a short time. And I really do feel that one of the benefits of doing something like that, whether if it's like an actual prop firm, and, you trade for like a company and everything, or if it's like something like your company, right? The fact that you have certain limitations and, you have limits and stuff like that, I feel like this puts such a high level of, responsibility. And I've seen for myself that it improves a lot of people's performance. So some people can see it as a negative, having limits and stuff like that. I think for most people, it's probably going to be a really big positive, right?
Absolutely. It's built-in risk management, right? Like know exactly how much you can lose. And we work very similar to a prop desk where it's like, yes, we're giving you access to capital. So of course there have to be rules. But what's nice about us is our rules are very clear and transparent. We have 2 forms of drawdown, which is your daily drawdown. How much can you lose in a day? And then how much you can lose overall. The daily drawdown obviously resets every day. Those are really it. Like a lot of prop firms have these very kind of goofy, intricate, confusing, often hidden rules like profit caps, or you can only use a certain percentage of your margin. You can't trade around news events. You can't only take trades in one direction. And all of those rules are just effectively a way to make you not profitable, harder for you to make money. As long as you're not breaching our drawdown rules and you're not like egregiously circumventing the system, like you have 2 accounts like that you've signed up with different IDs and you know what I mean? And you're like just blatantly cheating. We don't really have any sort of rules that we're trying to get you on. There's no gambling rule. There's no margin rule. You can go all in on Moodang. I do not care. If that's what you want to do for your trade, go for it. And the beauty of it is the upside is relatively unlimited. I mean, on a 100K account, you could open up a $200,000 altcoin position, a $500,000 Bitcoin position. In these market conditions, that's a ton of potential upside. When the market can move 5 or 10% in a day on Bitcoin, and, 50% a day on some of these alts. But the downside is fixed. Yes, you have drawdown rules, but you're not actually losing that money, right? Like the money that you are risking is the amount you paid for the evaluation. So if you're funded with a $100,000 account and you're taking a trade on Bitcoin to potentially make 20 grand, if you go wrong and you breach your account, you're only out the cost of the evaluation, which was the $800 and change dollars. So the downside is very much fixed. And then the upside, the ROI calculation is actually quite crazy. And so if you go on our Twitter, you'll see we have people who's like, hey, this person spent $500 at Breakout and they've pulled out $5,000. Like that's a crazy multiple when you really think about it.
Yeah. I think the biggest benefit is that you're probably the only prop firm that lets users trade Moondang and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, we're trying to be like, we're crypto-centric. We launched with FX very early on and we realized, okay, we don't want to do this. Like, let's focus on what we know. We're all crypto natives. And we built this because we didn't believe that there was a good option for crypto right now. Like other prop firms allow you to trade crypto, but if you go on them, the spread on Bitcoin might be 20
Yeah, it's
bucks.
horrible. It's horrible.
Right? Like that's not tenable for someone who's a crypto trader where they're used to razor thin spreads and good liquidity and like up to date listings. They're like, hey, you can trade Cardano. No one gives a fuck, right? People want to trade Peanut and Moodang and Whiff and all the new coins, GOAT, whatever it is. If it's new, if it's in the mind share of crypto, we'll try and add it. And we'll try and let people trade it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait for you guys to integrate some DEXs and stuff like that. I know that you partnered with a centralized exchange, right?
Yeah, so we partner with a few different tier one centralized exchanges, and so that's where we're sourcing our liquidity for Bitcoin, ETH, and then obviously the long tail stuff, as well. Obviously, things got to have volume. And interest. That's kind of how we go about our listing right now. So Abe Trade is kind of in charge of just listing coins. We'll try and find, like we listed Peanut yesterday. Everyone's talking about Peanut. I can't
believe that Abe Trade knows. I can't believe that Adam knows what Moondang is, man.
Yeah, exactly. So, we let him do that. And, it's been a lot of fun, dude. And again, we're built for crypto traders. Like this is the perfect time to be taking advantage of what we offer. We have our cheapest account, I think $50. So the barrier to entry is, not that high. You're getting a similar experience to that you would on a centralized exchange. We have our own trading terminal. It's very familiar. If you've traded on any sort of centralized exchange, you're going to get it right away. And, you can crush, man. We have a lot of people who are crushing it right now.
Yeah, that's sick. Well, I want to go back to your trading on its own. And obviously, if any of the listeners like what you heard from what Mayne said, you should go to his profile, check out Breakout. It's in his bio. This might be a really cool tool for you to use, and it probably is. But I want to talk about your trading strategies. How do you feel that they have evolved over time? Are there any specific methodologies or tools that you use now that you haven't in the past?
I haven't changed much. So like this goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Like you kind of want to find your system and what works for you, and then you want to stick with it because you've got to practice it and you've got to refine it and you've got to kind of master it. If you want to use the Malcolm Gladwell quote, like 10,000 hours or whatever, that funny guy who was on Twitter who's like, I fear the man who has not practiced 10,000 kicks, but he's practiced, one kick 10,000 times. Like that's how you got to kind of think about your system as well. Like you want to build something that's systematic and repeatable over time. So regardless of the market or the market conditions, you know exactly what you're looking for every time. So I got pretty comfortable with how I trade and what I look for many years ago. Now obviously over time, there's always little tweaks and refinements that you can make. Like something I learned when Bitcoin was trending or crypto was trending very hard, I would take my same system, but I would start to apply it to a lower time frame. Because when we're going vertical like we are now, maybe we're not getting any sort of daily or, H12 retests. So that part of my system isn't really going to work in these conditions. So you do have to be agile in that sense that you've got to be able to tailor your system. What worked from March until, September, where we were just ranging, and every time we went to the range high, you shorted. Every time you went to the range low, you long. That is no longer the case, right? You can actually ride your longs and they seem to continue to go instead of fully retracing every single pump. So there's definitely refinement and little tweaks and stuff that you make as the market changes and the regime changes within the market. But in terms of my core strategy, it's been the same for years. Like if you go back to my videos from 2018 on YouTube, like I'm drawing order blocks, I'm using SFPs, I'm using breakers, and it's what I do still to this day. Earlier on, I messed around with indicators. If you go back to my page in like 2014, 2015, you might see some diagonal lines and some indicators and some moving averages. I don't use that stuff anymore.
Yeah. But it's like, I feel like everyone goes through this like almost journey where you start with the simple strategy and then you start overcomplicating things really crazily. And then you just go back to the basic simple stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, I like price action because I think it's easy to understand. Like, I look at some people's charts, and I'm not saying what they do doesn't work. I'm sure they make money. There's lots of different ways to make money. But I'm like, I can't even understand half the stuff that's going on their charts. They've got heat maps and they've got, all these different bands, and they're talking about, order flow, and they're talking about all this kind of shit. And I'm like, I'm clearly not smart enough to even understand what the fuck you're talking about. And if it works for them, by all means, go for it. So I'm not trying to dissuade anyone like, hey, the way I do it's right and the way you do it is wrong. There's many different ways to do it. It's just a matter of figuring out what works for you and then sticking with it. And I just kind of always like the simplicity of price action. You just need the chart and nothing else.
Yeah. So if anyone is listening right now to us and they're in this point where they don't really have a strategy, they tried a couple of things, nothing really worked, and they feel kind of lost, especially with the price going crazy like it is right now, how would you suggest them to try to find an edge, try to build a system? Like, where would someone start out and how will they proceed from there?
Yeah, I mean, what's tricky right now is these are not maybe the most ripe conditions to learn how to take very, risk-adjusted, smart trades. Because in times like this, being very much risk-on and a little bit more degenerate in your risk-taking is paying off, right? There's periods of the market where stepping your foot on the gas and taking on more risk makes sense. And then there's times where being more systematic, being more methodical, taking things more slowly makes more sense. So I think a very common pitfall for a lot of crypto traders is it's when you learned and when you got introduced to the market. People who come in the bull market probably are going to get smoked in their first bear market, right? Buying every dip. People who learn in the bear market are probably going to try and short every high in a bull market. So that can always be a little bit tricky. But I do think right now it is absolutely a difficult time to be like, hey, I'm going to, learn an entire trading system and, try and, apply it to the current markets, which are just kind of trading wildly, where it seems like, you can just buy almost any dip and get rewarded. That's not really a system. It's just like, okay, well, it works until it doesn't work. I think if you want to be learning to trade, you can obviously get education on that. I've got tons of free resources. Guys like Cred have tons of amazing free resources. Donald, there's tons of people on YouTube that have amazing free trading resources. I mean, Cred's stuff to me is like a university course on trading.
Yeah.
Like from very beginner level stuff to more advanced stuff with PowerPoints and chart examples. Like I just live stream and I just fucking blabber for 2 hours. His stuff is like, here's an actual course in order in which you should watch it with notes and everything. And then you can go back test that. So really cool site that I found out recently. I believe it's free. It's called MyFX Replay. It might cost a little bit of money, but it's nothing crazy, like a couple bucks a month. And it allows you to use the trading view charts, but go to any asset and go back in time and then take trades, and it will actually, calculate the trades as you're taking them, calculate the P&L, show you all your stats. So I actually find it to be a really cool backtesting site. I've been using it a bit in the Haven. When I teach my strategy, I then go and use it backtesting and show people how it works live, because you can go through a year's worth of trading in an hour on there, right? So I think that's a good way to learn and to backtest. I think right now it's definitely a little tricky. The move is underway. Like we're going up. We've gone up a lot recently. I don't think it's over yet by any means. I still think there's lots of opportunity out there. But right now, I think, just having exposure, getting exposure to crypto, looking to get in on dips is the way that you're going to make money, as opposed to trying to be really, really fancy, learning how to take super systematic trades if you haven't really done it before. So this is a tough environment to learn in, for sure.
Yeah.
With how crazy things are going, how much money you see people making. And right now for me, I'm treating this as like a time-based thing. Like I'm pretty confident we're going to be bullish up until Trump goes into the office. So that's going to be, I think January 6th or January 20th or something like that. I think that's when I'm not saying the bull run's over then, but I think maybe if we're going to get that 30% wipeout, it happens then.
Yeah,
so
I feel like that's when people might sober up a little bit,
Yeah. So if that's the case, well then, okay, any sort of major dips between now and then, like I'm just looking to get exposure and I'm looking to, be bullish. But yeah, this is not, I wouldn't say these are prime conditions to learn how to trade. A little bit difficult right now.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like you said, a lot of people are making money. It's like a very forgiving market where you might be taking bad setups. You might be doing the wrong things, but they still pay you money, right? Which it's okay. Everyone has those things, right? It happens to all of us. I feel like just the most important thing is being aware that that's the case, right? Not letting it, get you drunk and get you euphoric, thinking you're some genius and, I quit my job, and everything like we spoke about earlier.
Yeah. Are you a bull in a bull market, or do you actually know what you're doing?
Yeah, exactly. So putting the setup things aside and the trading itself aside, how do you manage the psychological aspect of trading? Like dealing with just stress in, volatile markets like we have right now, or just maintaining discipline where things are getting even crazier, or just super boring, or just bad periods overall?
Yeah. I mean, I think trading psychology and the mental kind of side of trading is something that's not really talked about, very often. We kind of touched on this earlier, where all you see is wins on the platform. You don't really see a lot of people posting about their losses, which are, as much of a part of trading as anything. And I think learning to master psychology is just as important as learning, to draw lines on a chart, if not more important, because you can do TA and, be like, this is where I should enter and this is where my stop should go. But once there's money behind that idea, everything changes, right? Everything changes when there's real money on the line, even between paper trading and real trading, even trading with a prop firm and paper trading, real trading. Once there's some type of skin in the game, it changes. So, I've never been a proponent of there's a lot of people like, you got to read Trading in the Zone. You got to read these books and I've never read any fucking trading books ever. I've watched countless videos and stuff.
Not even Trading in the Zone?
No, never. And I'm sure it's a great book, but I'm of the mindset that the best way to learn is by doing. Yeah. You know what I mean? I can read a book about psychology. I can watch a video, someone explaining to me what the fuck's going on. Nothing is going to give you the experience outside of you doing it yourself. So a really good way to start getting comfortable with that side of trading is starting small, right? So understanding that, hey, you don't need to, risk massively initially. And just starting maybe a little bit smaller on the amount of money that you're risking, getting comfortable being in drawdown, being comfortable being in profit, but not being at your take profit yet, and not getting greedy when we're at your take profit to leave the trade on, and all those different things that you're going to experience, the ebbs and flows of being in a position that's above water, underwater. Are you near your stop loss, but you're not stopped out yet? Are you oversized? Did you get in too big? The only way you're going to learn what those emotions actually feel like is by experiencing them yourself. You can't read about it and really understand it. You got to feel it. And then what you need to do is you should write it down, right? I don't journal really my trades anymore, but I used to journal everything. And so when I was in a trade, I would write down what I was feeling in the moment. Oh my God, I entered this trade. It went up immediately. I'm feeling euphoric. Oh, it's at my TP. I think it's going to go higher. I'm going to stay in. Oh, it reversed 50% and I didn't take any profit. Now I want to kill myself. You know what I mean? I would write down what I was feeling throughout the trade, and that helps you identify, because first part is feeling it, right? Second part is being able to recognize that you're feeling it. Third part is being able to then control it. So now I know what euphoria feels like. I know when I'm tilted. I know what it feels like. And then I know how to control it and counteract it. Obviously, I always tell people you want to be like a robot, right? Your trading should be robotic. You enter here and I'm not exiting this trade till it's either a take profit or stop loss. That's the dream scenario. You're not a robot though. You're a human. You're going to experience greed. You're going to experience fear. You're going to experience all of these emotions. The key is just being able to kind of recognize them, identify them, and then mitigate them to the best of your ability. And you're never going to be perfect. Even to this day, I feel FOMO. I get euphoric. I get fucking on tilt. It is what it is.
It's you still feel it. You just learn how to control it a little bit better.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, regarding journaling, I don't journal my trades anymore. But that's because I personally feel that my strategy got to a point where I don't really need to journal that much. But one thing I still do every single day is I have this almost like an emotional journal. right? I'll write how I'm feeling, if something happened, like just emotions, thoughts, stuff like that. Nothing even directly market related, which I feel like is as important, if not even more important for trading, in my opinion, especially in conditions like this where everything goes super crazy and the emotions is what will probably screw you over more than the trading setups themselves.
Yeah. I mean, dude, even just over the last few days, I've entered a few trades where like I entered probably too big and then price didn't immediately go my way. So I closed and then an hour later, like we're up 10%. I'm like, God fucking damn it. Like it happens, man. So, executing and the psychology of trading, they go hand in hand. You cannot have one without the other. So you've got to learn to get a hold of that. And the only way you're going to do it is by start clicking buttons. Like you can watch infinite videos, read infinite books until you get some skin in the game and, get in there and get into the arena, as they say. You're never going to know.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, what is, a one tip that you would give the younger you as he's getting into trading, or even better, getting into his first like bull market type thing?
Listen, if you're young, that is the most opportune time for you to be taking on as much risk as humanly possible, because the most valuable asset in the world is not Bitcoin or anything of the sort. It's time, right? Like when you're young and you have time and you don't have a ton of responsibility, that is the ripe conditions to be willing to take outsized risk for potentially outsized reward. Because if you're 22 years old and you're like, fuck it, I'm going to try this crypto thing and I'm going to risk my $10,000, $20,000 of savings to try it and try and turn that into a significant sum of money, and it doesn't work. Okay. Now you're 23, you can save up $10,000 again. Yeah. It's delayed you a year, but like you're still young. You got time. You don't got kids.
You have no responsibility.
You don't have a mortgage. You don't have a wife. It's different for me. I'm 34 now. Like I'm getting married soon, probably have kids soon.
It's over for you already.
It's over. It's basically over. Yeah. So if it wasn't already over, it's definitely over soon. And so for me, my mindset about risk is different. I still take risk. I still absolutely take risk. I'm still trying to grow my portfolio and make more money, but I also am never going to jeopardize my quality of life and my financial security to make that extra bit of return. You know what I mean? Because I've done it long enough. I have enough money. I'm set up well enough that I don't need to go all in on something and risk losing it all.
You're basically at a point
when you're in your early 20s and you got nothing going on, you live at home, you're in school, or you got just like a regular ass job, I can risk it for the biscuit, baby. Like that's the time to do it. Try shit, fuck up, try again, because you got time. The older you get, you're just getting responsibilities and things that you have to do. They go parabolic as time goes on. So, get in early and don't be afraid to take those risks early on.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a ratio of like, is taking the risk of improving your life worth the life that you're having right now? Right. And once you have a certain level of quality of life, it's just not worth it anymore. Right.
Yeah. Listen, would I like to have, slightly bigger house? Like maybe, but like, you know what I mean? Like at a certain point you get comfortable with, where you're at. And I'm not trying to tell people don't keep going, don't keep growing. Like why is Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk continue to work? I'm not saying I'm not trying to make money. I am trying to make money. Give me your money, actually. Give me money. But taking on like crazy, like all or nothing risk and things like that, way easier to do when you're young and you don't have a lot of stuff, that you're beholden to.
Yeah. It's a really good point. Well, we have 2 questions left. The first one I want to ask you is, what is the secret to having such a thick neck like yours?
Okay. So, this is so funny because I've got 4 brothers and, like none of their necks look like mine. You know what I mean? And I never thought I had a big neck. And
until you
I
posted
look
your
back
picture
at
on
old
CT
pictures of me and my neck. I should post a comparison because I look at pictures of me before I started getting into the gym and my neck was normal, right? And I started working out when I was like I always did sports and stuff, but I started getting quite serious in the gym at like 27, 28. Cause my older brother had gotten like in good shape. So I was like, oh, I better get in good shape now. Cause if we ever get into a fist fight, which of course is not happening anymore, but that's just how you think. If I have to beat him up, I got to be bigger than him. So I got into the gym. I'm 6'2", and when I was 25, I weighed 140, 150 pounds. Like I was like a rail. Like I would snowboard and skateboard and all that shit. I wore shoelaces, a fucking belt. I was super skinny, but like that was the style. Right. And then my brother got huge and I was like, what? I just assumed we were skinny guys. That was our genetics. So I went to the gym and I put on literally 90 pounds over the course of like 2 years. Like it sounds insane. Not all muscle, obviously, but I went from 150. I think at my heaviest, I was 240. Now I'm like 220.
That's crazy.
So I got into the gym. I started lifting, deadlift, squat, bench press, and I guess my neck just fucking grew. Like it's so weird because I look at these old pictures of me and my neck was thin and like you could see my jawline. Now I don't even have a jawline because my neck is just so wide. You can't see the difference between my jaw. Like most people's jaw is wider than their neck. Mine is not. So now I've got this like bowling ball looking head. It doesn't help that I'm bald. And yeah, I don't know. I think probably overhead press and deadlifts are probably the two main exercises that I'd like to think contributed to that. But I also put on like, I mean, I went from 150 pounds. Now I'm walking around at 220. So I think that was a factor as well. But God, I wish I would have known that I had this genetic potential earlier. I would have probably played rugby or something or like gotten into wrestling, you know, I don't know.
Yeah. It's just so funny. Every time people post like the creative memes with your neck where they edit it into different things, it's just one of the most hilarious memes on CTS.
My editor is the biggest culprit of that, and I pay that motherfucker to basically make fun of me all the time. But I have I think it was with Kobe. It was an Up Only episode. It was like the first time I doxed. Like I'd never doxed my face before, and that was the first time I doxed my face. And someone in the chat was like, this motherfucker's neck is huge. And then it just took over. But one thing I believe on the internet to be true is if people make fun of you for something, like you have to lean into it.
Yeah,
you can't tell people it bothers you because then they will do it even more. You know what I mean? It's like KSI with his new song where he's like, it's a good song. Why don't people like it? And people are just clowning him. So I lean into it. It is funny. And luckily I'm have enough confidence in myself that I'm okay with it.
They're just jealous, man.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're jealous that I can't be choked out, you know? I can't be choked out and I couldn't hang myself if I wanted to, regardless of how high my peanut fumble is.
Yeah, that's great. I was just wondering how the meme was born, but why did you actually decide to dox?
You know, it's funny. I started doing these videos in like 2018. I think I started posting YouTube videos, and my first one, I remember it vividly. I was like in my apartment on my MacBook, and I'm like, I don't know if anyone's going to watch this. I think like 3 people watched the stream, literally. And, it was like, you know, I just started doing it, and I've always enjoyed sharing and helping people. And in another life, I would be a teacher. But teachers don't make any money, and I like money more than I like helping people. But I've always enjoyed helping people, and I feel like I'm good at taking stuff that is complex or confusing and explain it in a way that isn't. You know what I mean? I think one of the biggest problems in trading education is people like to sniff their own fucking farts and make it seem like they're some super fucking genius about, oh, I'm fucking looking at this, and this, and the and I'm like, all right, dude, I'm drawing a big old box here, and if price comes to this big old fucking box, I'm buying. Like, you know what I mean? And I just try and be real. And it got to a point where I just felt like having my face credibility is not the right word, but it would show people that I'm just a regular guy. Like I'm not, you know, I'm just another dude. I'm just like you. I'm just a guy who's, you know, in his spare bedroom where he's made into an office, and I'm fucking drawing on charts and I'm clicking buttons. I'm not some suit. I'm not some, you know, guy who's pretending to be a genius. I'm just a fucking regular dude. And I think that resonated with a lot of people, and I do think it helped me grow.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like the people who are doxed it's a benefit. As long as you don't, flex wealth and like do all those unnecessary things, it's probably going to help you out if you're trying to create content and like give back to the community, stuff like that. Big benefit.
100%.
Yeah. So before we move on to the last question, I want to remind everyone, you can click on the bottom right corner. There's a chat box icon. You can click on it, leave any questions, and we'll touch those in a couple of minutes. So Mayne, the last question is, what do you think making it is, and do you feel like you've made it?
So I've made it and lost it and made it again, more than once. I think making it is relative. Like we get that very funny conversation on crypto Twitter around, how much money do you need to retire, right? So I think there's so many factors that go into this. Where do you live? How old are you? Are you going to have kids and a family? Like all these things change whether or not you need, 5, 10, $20 million, right? I also think people are completely desensitized to money in crypto.
Yeah,
like you have no idea what the regular world is like when you see crypto, because a lot of people who are in their 60s and 70s, they don't even have $1 million to their name and they're retiring, right? So the whole conversation is just so out of touch. It's hilarious. But to me, the whole like making it and the retirement thing it's silly. No one retires. You're not retiring, right? Like if you're passionate about what you do, you're going to do it. Maybe you're not going to trade as much as you used to. You're not going to take the same risks that you used to, but you're always going to continue to do stuff and make money. You've got to fill your day up. You can't just, sit around all day as much as you like to think you might. You might have a big payday and be like, okay, I'm going to take a year off and go travel or something, but you need to work. You need to occupy your mind. Or you're gonna die. You'll die younger and you'll lose your fucking mind unless you occupy your mind with stuff. There's a reason Elon Musk is the richest man on the world and he still works. He's like joining the government. You think he needs to do that? Donald Trump is already a billionaire. Why do you want to be president? So I think to me, making it is a relative term to who you are and where you are in your life. I think ideally making it means that you can do what you want on any given day. That doesn't mean take a private jet necessarily or, charter out a fucking yacht. It means if you wake up one day and you don't feel like you want to do anything, like you don't want to work that day or trade, like you don't have to and your stuff's covered. You taking a day off is not going to fucking ruin it. To me, making it is no longer having to trade your time for money, because that's what most people do. They have an hourly wage. You work this many hours, you get this much money. So no longer having to trade your time for money and no longer having to do something if you don't want to, right? So if you want to take the day off, obviously there's levels to making it. Can you retire your parents? Can you take a month off and it's okay? But that to me is kind of like the baseline of making it. Like you don't have to do something if you don't want to. It's not necessarily fuck you money, but it's like, I don't want to do that money. You kind of earn your time back, your freedom.
Yeah. It's where like you have enough money that you don't care that much about, you work when you want to work for the fun of it and not just for the money itself.
Yeah. And I'm not saying you're never going to have to work again, but like taking a day off is not going to ruin you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a really good one. I personally, I hate all of this, like how much do you need to retire and stuff like that. Cause like you said, I don't get the whole chasing the retirement thing, right? It sounds to me, the whole like, movie-esque type retirement thing of sitting at home doing nothing all day and playing golf or I don't know what sounds so boring and so sad almost. I'll never understand why people try to chase that.
Dude, and the number always gets bigger, right? Like that's the thing. Like when you make $100,000, then you're going to be like, well, what's 250 like? Oh, okay, I got $1 million. Well, what if I had 5? Like the goalpost will always move further down. I've never met anyone who's like, okay, I've got $10 million. Now I'm not doing anything ever again. You know what I mean? Like there's always something. And for me, like I haven't conquered trading, but I got rich, right? Like I got rich trading and now I'm still trading actively, right? But I'm also building a company and like, it's just a new thing. It's in the trading space, but it's like a completely different just beast. And it's like, to me, that's what's so cool. Like, and look at Kobe, like Kobe's a goddamn billionaire. And like does he have to do anything ever? No, but now he's building a social funding platform in Echo. And I'm sure he's loving it. It's like, hey, this is different. This is new. And it's like that to me is again, making it because you maybe did something for so long and you kind of like get burnt out of it. And you're like, hey, I want to try something different. And having that ability to do that, I think is, pretty special.
Yeah, 100%. Like keeping your mind occupied, keeping your mind challenged and like trying different things. It's just healthy.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Well, that's brilliant. Let's take a look at the questions actually. We have Palm Gray asking, why is Delta's voice so deep? I am a woman. A lot of people think I'm a man because of my voice. I'm just sick.
Oh, transgender.
Yeah, I'm, I'm trans. Let's see. We have a question for Mayne from Ballsy. If we take every H12, H1 setups, the win rate is pretty low. How to know which ones work, which ones do not work?
So, for the H12, H1 system, my win rate on Bitcoin is somewhere in like the low 40% range. When you're risking,
I personally don't even know what it means, like the H12,
so
H1
that's like
setup.
that's the definition of that's what I call my trading system, is how I enter trades. I call it the H12, H1 system.
Oh, okay.
Basically, I'm charting on the H12 and I enter on the H1 to put it simply. So, my win rate is sub 50%, but I'm aiming for 2 to 3R every trade. So when you have a lower win rate system, but your risk reward opportunity on every trade is, 2 to 1, 3 to 1, you don't need to have a super high win rate. You only need to win 33% of your trades, 1/3 of your trades, if you have, 2 to 1 reward to risk on the trades that you're looking for. So that's point number one. Point number two is there's other ways to further refine the setups. So if you're finding that, hey, I'm getting stopped out a lot on these H12, H1 trades, look at the weekly chart. Are you maybe taking shorts into weekly support? Are you taking longs into weekly resistance? So add another time frame above the H12 and make sure that that is also lining up with your H12 analysis to give you a little bit more confluence, because the H12 setup might be setting up in the way that you want, but you're, completely blind and ignorant to what's going on the high time frame. That might be something you have to pay attention to. Like on Bitcoin right now, we could get a H12 swing failure pattern and then an H1 structure break. And you're like, well, this is short. Technically, yes, but the higher context, the market is very much bullish. So that might change the expectancy of that trade.
Yeah. And honestly, it's the whole win rate thing is it's not that relevant. Like, it's not the thing that will make or kill it depends, but people give it too much importance. Like, I remember Charlie posted, a photo from his CoinMarketMan showing some strategy with 300 trades and 30% win rate, or if it was even lower. And he was asking, what do you guys think the P&L curve looks like? And people gave their, people said, oh, it's probably not good, whatever. And then he showed it and it was crazy green, right? It's just about, what reward you're getting from your trades when you're compared against your win rate, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We have Kaluk asking, hey Mayne, do you bid and hope price wicks down there, or do you want for confirmation?
Yeah, hope is not a trading strategy, my friend. I hope you understand that. Hope, I always see that. People I hope this is going to happen. That's not a trading strategy. It's not quantifiable. So you need to have a plan for different potential opportunities, right? Trading is a game of probability. If this, then that. So I would love to long Bitcoin at 75K. I hope Bitcoin comes down there, but that's not a trading strategy. I will mark out that area on my chart and I'll say, if Bitcoin comes down here, I'm going to do this. But you also have to have a plan if that doesn't happen. So one of the most common ways that people get left on the sidelines is they're waiting for some sort of pullback to happen, and they have no plan on how to get involved if the pullback does not actually happen. So you've got to set up scenarios for both what you want to happen, what you hope to happen, and then you got to be ready to execute when one of those scenarios inevitably plays out. Price can only go up, down, or sideways. So have a plan for each, right? If you think it's going to go up, but it doesn't, and it starts going down, does that mean you just don't do anything? Or do you try and take advantage of the move down, right? So it's not about hoping. It's about setting up potential scenarios and then being prepared to execute when those things come. I think that one of the most common reasons that people feel FOMO in the markets is lack of planning and preparation. When you don't plan and you don't prepare and then something happens, you're not ready to execute. That's when you end up missing the move. So you're like, I would love to long Bitcoin on the next 10% dip, but you don't make any plans. You don't mark out any levels. You don't set any alerts. Bitcoin dips 10%. What do? You freak the fuck out. You don't long it because you're like, oh my God, it looks like shit. And then the next day it's bounced and it's completely reversed the move. And now you got FOMO and you end up chasing. So don't hope, plan. And then once you've planned, be ready to execute.
Yeah, amen to that. Well, it seems like there are no more questions. Let me just double check. People are shy. Best advice that improved your trading the most from Eddie. I'm guessing like he means advice that someone gave you or like you heard from someone.
I think knowing understanding who you are and the types and how you're gonna trade is super important. What I mean by this is, so I learned this from ICT and he said, like, what are you? Are you a sprinter or are you a marathon runner? Like, are you fast twitch? Like, I need dopamine stimulus instantly, or are you someone who's okay being patient and methodical, and understanding your personality type and then lining that up with the type of trading you do. So if you're someone who is like super ADHD, like I need shit speedy, fast, maybe scalping is going to work very well for you because you're not going to be able to be patient enough to sit in a swing trade, right? Or if you are someone who is patient and you don't want to have to check the chart every 5 minutes and constantly be hitting refresh and things like that, maybe swing trading or taking longer term trades makes more sense for you. So I think that was something that was very helpful for me, because I was able to learn very quickly that scalping wasn't for me. I found it way too stressful. I didn't like the idea of having to be glued to the screen and, watching it at all times and, not being able to sleep if I'm in a position because who knows what's going to happen in the next 15-minute candle. So I think that was a helpful piece of advice.
Yeah, that's really good. Well, that's pretty much it. Mayne, thank you so much for coming. I don't have any more questions.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Like the audience doesn't have any more questions. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. I really wanted to make this episode happen, so thanks for coming. Notes to all of our listeners. Notes will be available on Monday, as always, for those who missed the episode or joined in the middle. And the recording will be available right as we finish this episode on Twitter. And next week we will be uploading it to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, all those things. So make sure to check my profile on Monday for the notes and check out the IDEX account for uploads of the episodes next week. And yeah, Mayne, that's pretty much it. Do you have anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. If you guys want some more of me, I post on YouTube 3 to 5 times a week. So you can find me on there. I go over the charts and market analysis and trade ideas and things like that. I'm Tradermayne on all platforms. So if you want to find me anywhere, that's where you look. Yeah, no, man, thanks for having me, dude.
Yeah, my pleasure, mate. So yeah, guys, make sure to check Mayne's account, check out Breakout, check out the Haven. I'm sure that you will learn a lot from that. I've been enjoying following Mayne just for the occasional Nick meme. It's worth it, even if you're not trading.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Make sure to check the IDEX account. You will see there that we're posting a lot of new updates for new platform. The market making program is still running. If you want to actually make money for your limit orders, you can go and check that out. We have the points program still running. And yeah, you guys should be taking advantage of it. So yeah, if you're trading on chain, give it a chance. Don't have to if you don't want to, but I think that we managed to build something really cool and we'll be happy if you guys enjoy it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Mayne, thanks a lot for coming, mate. And to all of our listeners, pleasure to have you on. Hope you enjoyed as much as I have. And we will see you guys next time.
Thank you.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.